Wolf and Lunaria would turn into Rise Radio, radio inspiring singers everywhere. And not too long after that, Rise Awakenings would come onto the scene to bring you shows of inspiration, spiritual uplift, and heightened awareness. And together they formed the Rise Radio Networks. And just like the phoenix rising from the ashes, we have a new home on the web called Embers of Light. Come and check it out.
Start with the quiet parts, the things you hide behind your laugh. Sit with the ache a while. Let every question breathe and ask, who was I trying to be? Who am I when I just stay? Name every tender scar and let them have their say. Till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Pages of old beliefs, stories that kept you playing small. Lay them out on the floor, see which ones never fit at all. Offer your younger self a kindness you never knew. From the soil of your soul.
Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Welcome to the Bloom. If you are new here, the wisdom that I share in this podcast is based in my personal experience and knowledge that I've gained from my educational and healing journeys. And of course, I share in the greatest degree of love. May it resonate with whoever it's meant to. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And we'll get to every chat question that we can get to as quickly as possible. So make sure you get your chat question in there as we're talking, okay? And thank you, Mom, Micah, for being the man behind the curtains, the producer, the fabulous creative behind all of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You can find me on all the socials and on healingrose.org if you wish to work with me personally. But let's dive in today. And as you guys know, or if you don't know, Sunday Circle is something I do in person here in Columbus, Ohio. And so the Bloom is Sunday Circle, but online. So I'm speaking on the same topic that I spoke on at Sunday Circle. And I bring that up to say that this was a requested topic by one of my Sunday Circle participants. And I asked her, what do you want to hear about? What do you want me to speak on? And, she said, well, everything's so numb. I don't like anything anymore. I feel like I just don't want to do anything. It's like, ugh, everything's so ugh. And I don't feel safe. I'm still like, in tense mode. And how do I get myself to feel safe again? And where do I find an oomph again? And so here we go. Let's learn how to feel safe again and reignite the spark after trauma. Okay. So today we're going to talk and be with each other and present with each other in a space of compassion, tenderness, truth. Okay. Let's explore deeply this, where do we go from here? How do I pull myself out? Okay, because let's talk about what there is that we're pulling ourselves out from. We need to learn how to enjoy life again. We need to learn how to understand that safety can feel boring. We need to learn that trauma spikes and adrenaline and cortisol hits and dopamine hits are like, that's what we learned from all that trauma would make us feel alive, and life is dull without that volatility and that, intensity, right? So there's a lot of wisdom and honesty in these questions and these ideas. And for many people who've lived through prolonged trauma, chaos becomes very, very, very familiar. And the nervous system adapts to that survival mode, right? The stress hormones, like the adrenaline, the cortisone, and whatever else comes out, becomes that constant companion. Sometimes it creates hypervigilance in us that becomes normalized. And so now we're constantly in that state of like hyper awareness and looking for the crises, and the crisis needs to become the routine. This is not a healthy place to be. And when life finally begins to calm down, and when some things become more peaceful, and you start to do some of the work here, and you're starting to lay the groundworks for boundaries and learning to navigate certain things, and you're starting to meet people and be in spaces that are a little more safe, it feels incredibly unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, right? Sometimes the absence of chaos can feel empty, numb, boring. Not because something's wrong with you or the circumstances, but because the body and nervous systems are so conditioned to associate that intensity with aliveness, right? So we're here compassionately and tenderly because today we're going to speak gently to that part of ourselves, okay? Healing isn't just learning how to survive. Healing is definitely learning how to live. And I know we've heard this on this show and elsewhere. We don't heal our trauma to learn how to survive the trauma. We heal the trauma so that we can learn how to accept the joy and live. So when we spend years in survival mode and our nervous system becomes highly activated, right? We're just constantly activated. We become accustomed to those emotional spikes, the unpredictability, the conflict, the urgency, or that emotional intensity. And our body expects that stimulation. It's now become a habit in our lives that we've become addicted to, if we're using words plainly. So when peace comes along, the nervous system might be asking, wait, where's the danger? It's a little too quiet around here. When is the other shoe going to drop? When is something going to go amiss, right? This is why people should, well, okay, I'm not going to should. Let me rephrase this. This is why some folks unconsciously recreate that chaos, that overworking themselves and remain in unhealthy relationships, or they doom scroll, or they're constantly seeking some kind of form stimulation, right? And the nervous system is searching for what feels familiar, even if what's familiar is self-sabotaging and harmful. So maybe this is what another good reason to have this topic talked about, so we can identify. We talked about the self-sabotaging stuff last week. So if you didn't tune into last week's, tune into what is harmful that we may not realize is harmful. Anyway, the calm doesn't mean empty. And I repeat myself in this podcast sometimes and in Sunday Circle, because repetition brings it back into the forefront of your awareness. So let's get comfortable with knowing peace is not punishment, safety is not stagnation, and rest is not failure. Safety is sacred, and we need to learn how to enjoy life again and reignite our own spark. So one of the most beautiful ways and parts of healing is rediscovering that joy. And that's how we can reconnect with ourselves, not the performative type of joy when we're at birthday parties and whatever else is going on in life. It's not forced positivity. It's genuine moments where you feel alive, like your warm cup of tea, the sunlight coming into the window, as long as it's not a death ray like Micah was talking about earlier today. The music that touches your soul. We're all loving music on Rise Radio, right? Painting, writing, dancing, gardening, singing, and sometimes even taking that deep belly breath that just reaches your soul, right? Laughter that feels free, not the kind of laughter that's guarded. These are the moments that matter the most. These are those moments of aliveness that we're kind of glazing over instead of taking a moment and simmering in and allowing ourselves to settle into that feeling of joy, right? Trauma often disconnects us from our ability to feel pleasure, to feel creativity and presence. It robs us of that, right? Survival mode totally narrows our focus onto danger and protection. And that's why we heal. We heal so we can slowly widen that lens again, right? And this is where the baby steps become sacred. And these baby steps are in our everyday life. So let's settle into those moments and allow us to receive the joy of those moments for ourselves. Okay, you don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You don't need to force happiness, and you don't need to heal perfectly. There is no perfect. Sometimes healing begins with simply asking, what makes me feel a little more alive today? And reminding ourselves that our spark was never destroyed. It may have been buried beneath exhaustion, beneath pain, beneath fear, beneath grief, shame, survival, but it's still there. And part of healing is giving ourselves permission to reconnect with the parts of us that trauma tried to silence, that we might have ourselves silenced to protect ourselves, right? This is where creativity becomes medicine. When we engage, and you know, you've heard me say this, when we engage in activities that place us into our flow state, our nervous system begins to experience safe dopamine and fulfillment, not from chaos, but from presence with ourselves. So this is where we use our own body chemistry to produce those intensities in us but in on the healthy level of spectrum. So creating, building, learning something new, exploring something that you've been interested in, moving your body in ways that give it attention, give those little body parts, even if it's just wiggling your ankles around or moving your finger, whatever your limitations are, you can still move your body in some way that ignites things and activates things in your body chemistry and helps you. Making art, right? A lot of you are art makers of all varieties. Cooking nourishing meals. Sometimes that gets us into a flow when we don't see it as a chore, and that's hard for some neurospices. So instead of seeing it as a chore, maybe look at it as something that is meditative for us to connect with. I struggle with that myself, so that's why I use that example, because sometimes I make myself make it meditative, and it works. Connecting with nature, that's one of my favorite ones. Get out in nature, sit in the grass, and just sit there for a while. Watch the nature come out as you're sitting there peacefully. Just watch it and see the worlds underneath your feet. Play. We talk about being playful, right? Be loose. Let go. Play. No one's around you but you. Who cares? Who's watching, right? Laughter. Make it sincere. That's why sometimes doom scrolling can be useful if we turn it into micro learning and we turn it into joyfulness, where it's synced up with our sense of humor and synced up with what we're interested in learning about. It's can be used as a tool. I always say make it a healthy addiction, but then you have to have parameters and boundaries on that and put limitations on that, right? So all of these things are not unproductive when they're used intentionally and for the purpose of reigniting yourself. These are restorative things when used as those tools. And the nervous system needs to experience that in order for it to be taught. It's safe to feel good. It's safe to rest. It's safe to enjoy life. It's safe to exist without earning my worth through suffering. That's a big one for a lot of us, right? So many of us survivors learn to abandon ourselves, right? To survive, we neglect and abandon our own needs, don't we? So another way that we can reignite our spark and help ourselves feel safe again is to rekindle that relationship with ourselves and start showing up for ourselves. And it's okay that happened because perhaps we learned to prioritize everyone else's emotions, right? Perhaps we became hyper independent because everyone else needed us to take care of ourselves, but we didn't really get to take care of our needs because we were taking care of everyone else, right? We become the caretaker and we ignore ourselves. We minimize our needs and we're ignored by others and minimized by others. And sometimes we're shamed by others for having needs because we've made them such a priority. Their sense of entitlement outweighs our need. So here's a radical something. Ask yourself, can I begin to listen to me? Can I begin to honor my needs with compassion instead of judgment? Self-care isn't selfish. We say this all the time. Self-regulation is not weakness. Boundaries are not cruelty. And I'm repeating so it sinks in as an idea that can take root. Meeting your needs is an act of self-love, and that act of self-love itself will help you reignite that spark, because sometimes the love that we need is the love that we give ourselves. And sometimes we wait for permission from everybody else around us, right? We can't do that. We can't wait for others to give us permission, because then someone else is going to say no to the rest that we need. We don't need permission to nourish ourselves in the ways that we need nourishing. We don't need permission to choose peace. But if we need permission, we just have to give it to ourselves. And that sometimes has to be a conscious thing. So give yourself permission to give yourself that love and compassion and care for your needs. Because what if your exhaustion needs and deserves your attention and love? What if your emotions deserve the tenderness that you give to others? What if your body deserves the safety that you provide for others? What if your joy matters because that's what your soul requires? So let's shift ourselves into that state of compassion and self-love. And I think that one of the greatest obstacles that we have in this healing journey is shame, isn't it? Shame comes up a lot. And that's one of our biggest self-sabotagers, is that shame. We judge ourselves for struggling to relax because our brain tells us we're not being productive, right? We feel uncomfortable in peace because we're shaming ourselves for whatever it is that we were taught wasn't allowed or permitted as peaceful. And we judge ourselves for being triggered because we're on the healing journey. Why am I still triggered? Hey, take it easy. Ooh, whoa, that there trips you up. That's a fast way to keep your spark and your flame very tiny and low and diminished. Okay? Let's not shame ourselves. We need rest, and it's okay. Okay? And the trauma that we've lived through is ours. No one can take that away from us. And no one can tell us to just get over it, because sometimes that part is exhausting in and of itself. And if we accept and receive that, that's judging and shaming ourselves for something that doesn't make any sense, because we all know that healing is not linear. It's like this. We're just repeating cycles so that we can see what aspects of it we now have the capacity to understand at a deeper level, so we can feed it the level of love that we've learned and obtained now, right? So your nervous system adapts brilliantly to survive what it experienced, and we got to honor that completely and fully. And our responses were never weakness or shameful. They were fantastic in protecting us and getting us through all of that. But we can let all that stuff go and shift ourselves into compassion. And now with that compassion, we can bring teaching into the body, and we can teach the body something new, right? That nervous system is going to feel what safety feels like. And the giving yourself permission to let it be peaceful is the part that needs your attention, right? We're not going to heal through self-hatred. We heal through loving awareness of ourselves. Compassion creates safety. Safety creates self-regulation. That regulation creates a safe space for us to show up authentically. And our authenticity reconnects ourselves to our soul, which leads us to living in our alignment and helps us make that flame grow even more. All these things that I'm mentioning in this podcast is going to help you pull yourself out of that rut, out of that limbo, out of that, everything's you know exactly what I'm talking about. And each of these things are going to help us reignite that flame and make that flame grow. And living in alignment with our authenticity is the thing that makes that little flame turn into this massive bonfire that's infinite and undiminishable. I'm not finding the word, but that's okay. So healing's not just about removing pain. It's about returning to that alignment with ourselves, our truth, our values, our body. How many of us are disconnected from our body and living through the dis-ease that was created from being so disconnected from our body? And we're healing our physical bodies, right, too, in this process. Aligning with our spirit, aligning with all of aspects of us, right? So we begin asking in our world, and as we evaluate and redirect, does this relationship align with my peace? Does that environment align with my nervous system? Does this kind of self-talk align with self-love? Does this lifestyle nourish me or drain me? Healing asks us to release the old paradigms that taught us that we must suffer to feel worthy or deserving of love. Throw that shit in the trash and set it on fire. Okay? Let's heal. Because we're not going to do shame, we're not going to do judgment, and we're going to release our survival identity completely. That has to go. It's in your way. Okay? You are so much more than what happened to you. And as we align with ourselves authentically, we begin creating lives that feel nourishing and give us those natural chemical body hits that we want, instead of being a robot performing. Now, I talk about gratitude ad nauseum, and I want to bring up gratitude again and circle it back to the first thing I talked about, which was getting in touch with that joy, because gratitude is so powerful, not because it denies the pain and you're bypassing anything, but because it gently helps the nervous system notice safety and goodness again. Okay? Trauma trains the brain to scan for danger, right? Gratitude helps retrain the mind to also recognize moments of support, beauty, connection, peace, right? So I'm going to tie that back into your everyday stuff. It's more than, to me, it's more than just noticing I made it through the day. I'm grateful. It's noticing what helped your nervous system feel good and what made you feel good and what felt aligned and right throughout the day. What breathing technique did you use that helped you restore you? What were the moments of peace that you experienced? What did you feel like you learned that day, even if it was something little and small or silly, seemingly silly, because nothing is silly, everything matters. In what ways did you grow a little bit? Celebrating every tiny little thing in your experience to the degree of, like when you're celebrating that warm cup of tea, you're celebrating that tea leaf that is in your water, your hot water, and steeped into your hot water came from a tree in some country somewhere, had to come off of that tree and be harvested, had to be dried, had to be processed in order to make it all the way to the place where you purchased it, and now it's in your cup, and you're nourishing your body with the nutrients that tea leaf brings, and you have a cup to put it in. That too, I don't know if it was created in a machine or if it's a handmade mug, and the processes that went through in order to make it just specifically to you, because you had to resonate with it, or it had to come to you in some form if it was a gift, like just appreciating those tiny, tiny moments enhances the joy and that sense of believing into that moment. That gratitude becomes the anchor, right? And over time, those anchors help create new pathways in the brain, in the nervous system, sending out the bat signal for the kind of life that you want to live, right? The energy we put out is what unfolds in our life. So if it feels unfamiliar right now, that safety and that peace and that whatever, it doesn't mean that you're failing at anything. It's okay. It just means that your nervous system is learning a whole new language, right? The language of peace, the language of softness, the language of self-trust, and the language of receiving joy without fear and shame. And that learning takes time, right? It has to unfold for us. So as life unfolds for us, may we remember that healing does not require perfection. May we honor the wisdom of our bodies while gently guiding ourselves toward peace. And may we release shame for the ways we learn to survive. May we reconnect with creativity, joy, playfulness, and our authentic expression And if you're not sure what your authentic expression is and you're neurospicy, just let yourself naturally stim. You'll see. Sometimes that's joyful and playful. May we nourish ourselves with compassion. And may we learn that calm is not emptiness, but spacious. It's an opportunity to expand. And may we trust that we are worthy of lives rooted in alignment, safety, and an abundance of love and stability, and to be chosen, and all of those amazing things. And may we continue one gentle breath at a time to bloom beyond survival into true living in alignment. And of course, in the greatest degree of love, we all find harmony and strength. And that only happens when we calibrate and co-regulate with each other. And I would love to hear your questions and what you do to help you reignite that little spark inside of you. Bubble kittens, you mean I don't have to suffer to earn my worth anymore? Oh God, no. That idea alone, accepting that idea, is the resistance that you're creating that's self-sabotaging you from being open to receiving it. Okay? You want the genuine love in your life. You don't want love that feels like you have to earn it. That's not genuine. That's transactional, and the society is structured that way. The world that we live in is structured to make you earn your worth, and that's not natural and that's not normal. So we're going to change that and make a new normal, because what actually is good is to allow yourself to be open to receiving from receiving that love and attention, and believing that you're worthy of it from those who genuinely care about your overall health and well-being, who exist in your world already. You got plenty of people surrounding you that love you already. Shame and guilt are what I majorly struggle with, Bubble Kitten says as well. Yes, that is one of the biggest self-sabotages. I think we talked about that in my self-sabotage episode. So if you missed it and need to rewatch it, go do so. And I know we've talked about shame and guilt on Phoenix Talks also. So find that heading when you revisit that one as well. But we really need to practice that loving awareness for ourselves in order for us to catch ourselves in moments of, oh, is this thought true? Am I sabotaging myself? And am I the one minimizing my spark? Right? We have to identify the conditioning and the programming. We have to identify in that loving awareness, in that compassionate awareness of ourselves, and allow ourselves to move into a different mindset and choose to think differently. And it's okay to do that. We have to give ourselves permission. That's the permission piece, right? Cinder Kitten says, is that where the OCD rumination comes in as well? Yes. So we get stuck in our brains. And OCD, there's OCD ruminate. I see how you're putting the two together, and I totally see what you're doing. So thank you for, yes, I'll talk about both separately. The ruminating, the thought patterns that we are conditioned to believe because of all the data that was put into us over however old you are, a lifetime, a timeline, right? This entire timeline. So understand that's a lot of information to go through to decide what's right and what's not right. Okay? We're not getting stuck on what feels crappy. That's the problem with the rumination. We're getting stuck on shame. We're getting stuck on guilt. We're getting stuck on criticism. We're getting stuck on all of that lower vibing emotions that don't actually align with anything compassionate at all. We're continuing and propagating new patterns based on that data that's faulty. That's like you got installed with a virus. A virus came with your operating system. We just have to identify what's not healthy and learn what's not right. So if it makes you feel like crap and puts you down, that's your indicator. It's a no. Get off that train. Replace that thought with instead the positive affirmations about yourself. Start with the compliments you receive from people who actually value you and care about you genuinely. The compliments that made you go, start with those from people that love you. That's a great way to start believing, see yourself through someone else's eyes that actually cares about you. You'll know what that feels like. Luari says maybe their own brain causes the chaos because miserable, even when you're finally safe, feels normal. So it creates for you when there isn't any to feed off of. Correct. We create our own chaos. I know that sometimes chaos around us creates OCD. I'm going to circle back to that because OCD is a multifaceted little beast, okay? And we can help ourselves if we are OCD. That's basically repetitive behaviors, whether it's thoughts or in actions or whatever. We create that chaos in our own mind, and then we have this offset of OCD that goes to fix it, to control it. It's control. Let me control my environment. Now I'm chaotic because I'm trying to control my environment instead of actually living in alignment, because I didn't set boundaries for, I didn't like that. Instead, I'm going to lean into the familiar because I'm familiar with it. I'm really not comfortable, but I am familiar with it. So I'm just going to accept. It's a matter of less about us trying to create stuff that is chaotic for us. We really don't want that. But because it's all we know, it's all we know. So we have to give ourselves permission to learn new, healthier things that we can put in its place, in its stead. And that comes with, if you're gonna ruminate, then ruminate on the affirmations and beef yourself up. Give yourself the best damn pep talk, okay? And you'll prove it to yourself from the experiences that you've had, that you've survived and got yourself out of. So shifting your perspective of yourself, that self-awareness, that loving awareness of yourself. Okay. I'm right in the thick of it right now, Point says. I've been trying so hard not to collapse into the old panic and loss, at trying so hard to trust the universe. Got to trust yourself too. What helps us to get out of this constant survival trap? That self-awareness, exactly what I'm speaking on. This self-awareness trap is what you're going to lean into. The self-awareness, not trap, I'm sorry. The self-awareness lovingly is what gets you out of the trap. Ugh, words are hard sometimes, processing the brain. But we need to help ourselves become aware of ourselves. And the fastest, best way to help yourself do the mood booster is to get into your state of flow with creativity, recognize those moments of joy, adding gratitude into that, and include gratitude for yourself, for your own seeing how badass you were to actually survive what you survived, to giving yourself an opportunity to move on and say no to that, albeit rough and messy. You still chose yourself at the end, right? So like just giving yourself the accolades that you require to give yourself. We got to pull ourselves out of there and recognize that we don't want to create chaos in our lives. We just haven't learned how to do something different. So let's find out what different looks like. Expand yourself. Use that empty, calm space and lean into your boredom and fill it with healthy shit. Let's go. So now you feel bored when you start to turn that off because there's nothing to fight you anymore. Right. Hence the reason, let's dive into being playful with ourselves. When you reconnect to that little kid inside, not the hurt inner child that we're constantly trying to be like, you're okay, you're safe. Let's go to the playful one and maybe that child didn't get a chance to play. So there's that child in there that just wants to play. Let's re-normalize playing, right? Just play, just get into a weird flowy state, whatever floats your boat. La, la, la. Just get into something that makes you forget the world exists and hours can go by. I don't care what it is. The energy that that brings resets your nervous system in such a beautiful way and helps you rekindle to that joy. Lean in consciously and intentionally to the gratitude for those moments and for doing that. Bring that back into your space, and that will get the momentum flowing for you and reset the nervous system in a way that you weren't expecting it to. That's exactly how you fill the void. Start throwing in things that you've always wanted to learn, or things that you've abandoned within yourself because of taking care of everyone else's needs. Let's explore more parts of ourselves that didn't get a chance to breathe because we had to quiet and silence that aspect of us. Especially you recovering people pleasers. How many recovering people pleasers feel like, well, I didn't really get to live yet? Ooh, and that's something that I've been through myself. Like, I didn't even get a chance to start my life yet. I still feel like that sometimes right now because of when you care about others so much, you neglect your own needs and abandon yourself. So let's stop abandoning ourselves and show up for ourselves. Michael says it's hard to reignite the spark when you keep hitting points along the path that doesn't make it untraversable, but makes the slope that much steeper to travel. At this point, I've invested in the ice pick and everything else I need to scale a smooth, and I got to find the rest of that. There's more of that. Where is that? Something, okay, wall with no crevices or holes. Can I do it? Yes, the answer is yes. I have been, yes. Doesn't mean I'm not completely over it at times. If I waited for mission to help from others, right? Exactly. We can't wait for help. You'd never move forward or do anything. That's right. So I don't begrudge anyone doing what's best for them at that point. I'd expect nothing less. But it's also, I hope they understand when they're ready to. I've moved on, and I didn't. I on that, I did what I had to do, just like they did. Yes, absolutely. We don't want to stick to focusing on the lack. Where's our focus? This is reevaluation time. Where's our focus going? When we're in this lull and this limbo and stuckness, reevaluation time. Where are we going? What are we considering? Are we focusing on the roadblocks, or are we just seeing them as, ooh, new level? Let me level up and see what I can conquer this time. Like shit's going to happen and it's going to suck. And we're at where we're at because this system is just created to keep us low and down and hurt and ugh. But what they don't count on is us being a community that can help each other through it, even if it's just cheering each other on and saying, yes, we got this, you can do it. Whatever things you have inside you that's blocking you from achieving greatness, let it all go. You are already great as you are. What is great already as it is, and lean into that greatness now in your presence. And those obstacles become like no sweat, like when you're playing a video game and this new monster comes into the scene and you're like, pew, pew, okay, we're done. That was cool. Next. Just shift your attitude towards it. And I know that's not easy to do with everything in life because some things are serious. We have health issues. We have, who can't keep the lights on? I can't fix my car, so now I can't go make money. Like, there's real life issues. Totally. There's no magic light switch here. This is okay, I know things can be shitty at some times in my life. I know I could feel like it's pointless. However, in order to reignite my spark, I need to hyper focus on what is. That's it. That's all this is. If you lean into the sensation of love, gratitude, joy for what actually is in your experience, you release the weight and the blockages that are bringing more of those life experiences into your world, and it starts bringing in instead synchronicities and opportunities. for you to expand and grow and evolve beyond where you're at. And this isn't a your situation is your fault situation. No, do not get that idea in your head. That is not what this is. This is a how can I help myself move forward in this now? That's all this is. Asking yourself, in what way can I love myself in this now? And what gift of love can I give to myself in this now? Is it a perspective shift? Is it doing one action towards the thing that I wanted? Is it being creative? Is it being playful? And just living present fully in the moment and deciding in that moment how you want to feel and what you want your life to be like. That's it. It's a presence with yourself, a conscious, loving awareness and presence. It helps you regulate and it helps you connect with yourself and it helps you reignite that spark. Let's see who else. Cinder Kittens. Your Body Keeps the Score. Yes, is a good book. It is a good book. That when I was going through therapy spoke to me a lot, right? Your body keeps count, and every little percentage it hits you, right? Hits that you've come along the way in your life. Exactly. I mean, that's why I'm in the process of healing my body because I've had to abandon and neglect my physical body in order to survive. And my body is telling me that it needs a lot of replacement parts and it needs a lot of love and attention and it needs a lot of oil and grease and all kinds of things. This vehicle is in the shop. It does keep score. There is trapped trauma in different parts of the body. And if you're curious to know the correlations, just ask the interwebs. The interwebs has it all. I'm learning how to live and thrive outside the chaos and trauma. And it's scarier than being in the chaos, Bubble Kitten says. The reason why it's scarier is just because it's unfamiliar and uncomfortable at first because it's something new. And if you see it as it's something new and everything new is uncomfortable because we're unfamiliar with it, and you allow yourself to let that understanding sink in, it's not as scary because the reality is you have your own back. You've always had your own back. You have to believe that about yourself, and you have to have your own back to pull yourself out. Okay. You just forgot you had your own back. You just got to remind yourself. Okay. That's how I feel about my brain. It's in for repairs. That's it. That's, we're rewiring. We're talking to our body. We're talking to every cell in our body. Our body knows what it's talking about. It's part of our spirit. It follows the instructions that our programs give it. If our heart and our mind are not in coherence, our body is going to be a mess. Okay? Strengthen yourself in whatever way possible. I'm working on that now. Okay, we all used to be stronger at one point in our lives because things were different. And then we decided to abandon ourselves in order to survive. And that's okay. So let's remind our bodies where we're at now. Cinder Kittens is saying you're slowly recognizing that safe is good. So I think we're all part of the world that remembers what life was like before the overstimulation and the internet and the phones and the this and the that. I think we all remember what it's like to feel bored. And what did we do when we were bored? We found something creative to do. We found something to distract us. We found something playful to do. We found something to do. So when we reconnect with those parts of ourselves with permission, we're letting ourselves feel free. We're liberating ourselves from the boxes that we've been stuck in. And the story that we clung on to because we're trying to understand how all of that happened to us. The rumination, the controlling our environment, all the survival junk that comes out of us, that projects out of us. Strength is something that we already have, but haven't felt safe enough to release and develop until we do. That's right. So when we lean into that safety, into that feeling of, okay, I can feel safe. I kind of like the way safety feels. I'm not being pulled at. No one needs something from me. My thoughts matter. My beliefs matter. My decisions matter. My laughter matters. My joy matters. I matter. I feel worthy. I feel loved just being in my own little zen. So let's get ourselves into that flow state again. Reignite our sparks, pep talk the crap out of ourselves, because we have to have our own backs in order to get ourselves to the next level. We have to literally, when I hear pick myself up from the bootstraps, I know that terminology is based on whatever, but translating it here, you have your own back. Pull yourself up, because you deserve to focus on what feels right. It's a choice to shift your perspective into that and fully lean into your healing with so much loving awareness and intention that you shift your entire experience. And every time we have one of these low moments, it's that we got to get the momentum to go, gotta get it. We're going to have some back and forth going on, right? Don't give up. Lean in. Get it more, right? When we're trying to swing, we got to pump the legs. You got to pump it to make it. Lean into the joy. Lean into the self-love. Lean into the care. Lean into the authenticity. Lean into the setting boundaries. Lean into the discovering and unlearning the conditioning and the self-sabotaging and all the things. Lean into the healing with intention and loving awareness. And Lunaria says, I don't have to walk on eggshells. Oh God, life sucks when you walk on eggshells, doesn't it? No, gosh, we want to get ourselves into a place where we are unfuckwithable. We are never going to walk on eggshells again. And if we feel an eggshell and we step on one, we need to be like, ugh, no. Right? There's no one here to criticize you but you. Right. Right. That's exactly what it is. All of this work, all of this self-love, it's all happening in your head and your heart, and your body gets involved sometimes. Don't poo-poo on your joy. It's just you. Stop judging yourself. I love y'all. Right. Here we go. Poop, pouring out opportunity and potential. Thank you, Papa Micah, behind the scenes. That's right. Stop pouring out opportunity and potential and start pouring in potential and opportunity with that love and kindness that you give yourself. When I say go love yourself on a deeper level, right? We got this. That flame is still in there. You have to fan it. And you can do that no matter what your circumstances are. Bubble Kitten says, I was recently reminded in a profound way I am not alone, and how integrating all parts of myself, past, present, is important. Right. And that's what this is. This reigniting your spark is integrating all parts of yourself. The ones that got ignored and neglected, the ones that are actually genuine and authentic. Those parts that got silenced because of shame and mocking and humiliation and whatever trauma you've experienced, and whatever mountains that show up in front of you. But guess what? You have that titanium freaking badass supercharged ice pick or whatever that's going to shatter that entire mountain when you wham it in there and say, nope, I got this. Boom. Let it fall. Don't believe that you can't surmount it. And Cinder Kitten says, at least it wasn't the word pivot. Listen, we got to pivot in order to create the change. You brought it up, okay? Pivot. Pivot the mindset. Oh, for the love. Oh, that pivot. So as we reflect on our circumstances and situations, lean into the healing techniques that we talk. And these are just some. There's so many more than this. I'm just giving you some initial meat and potatoes to get the ball rolling, to get you off that hamster wheel and that repetitive cycle, and get you into a different mindset and mind frame and a different way to see yourself. Okay? Because you so deserve that peace, that stillness, that safety, that relaxation, and that leaning into the playfulness and to just being and existing, because you're perfect just as you are. Yeah, we still have to exist in this 3D world, but we ain't got to betray ourselves anymore. That shit was to survive in unimaginable circumstances. We've made it this far. We didn't come this far just to come this far. Okay? So let's keep moving forward. And as we move forward, today we have over on Rise Radio, there's the Smule Live Jam with Amanda. And then this evening back here on Rise Awakenings, we have Messengers with Lunaria and Brindlewolf themselves, our very own owners of Rise Radio, Rise Networks. So that's today. And of course, we have a lovely lineup for the rest of the day. You can find it on Embers of Light. You can find me on healingrose.org, even if you want to just schedule a free discovery call. And find me on all the socials and go reignite your spark. Go do something enjoyable for yourself that fills your soul today. And go lean into that self-love today. Let's do it. What do you think? Do we have this? We got our own backs, right? Yes, you do. I love you. Did I?
From the soil of your sorrow, petals from pain, new color in tomorrow. You walk through the dark with a soft, steady truth, holding your heart till your heart carries you. This is the This is the blue.
Hey, this is Brindlewolf.
And I'm Lunaria.
You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise Awakening, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken in life. Rise Awakening, now is the time. Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.